This is a statement from the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer. It might sound like a very nice PR talk on the surface, but what I find really contentious about it was the way it sounds. This statement was not made for people who play video games. It was made for people who don't, and not the good kinds of people who don't. This is basically a little bit of an article from Phil Spencer talking about how gaming is a powerful force that unites people. But in truth, it sounds like me justifying to my parents about how video games really help me, and therefore I can spend 10 hours more on my video games and be an unproductive NEET. It's filled with a bunch of really nice and innocuous statements, but it's not the statement itself that I find contentious, although there are some. It's the intent to saying those statements and its phrasing that I find truly contentious.
My father, a chemical engineer, brought home our first computer, a Sinclair ZX81, which came out in 1981. We played games together, and then later, we wrote games together. Today, for many people around the world, gaming is their first entry point into technology, just like it was for me.
I myself started gaming on a Windows 98 PC. I still remember how nostalgic it is to boot that up and play Virtua Cop or Final Doom. I'm perfectly aware that everyone has their own history with gaming and their entry point to technology, but I'm also aware that this is just a way to start a conversation by making yourself relatable to the audiences.
I believe in two fundamental truths about gaming. First, gaming is for everyone.
No, it's not. This isn't elitist me telling people to get off my gaming lawn or something. It's a statement of fact. Gaming is not for everyone, the same way kite surfing is not for everyone. But that's not the issue. The issue isn't that you're wrong on that statement. The issue is that you chose the wrong phrase to convey your point. What you're truly trying to say here is not that gaming is for everyone, it's that anyone can play video games. These two are completely different statements that convey two different points. Gaming is for everyone means that anyone can enjoy video games, which is not true. There are people in the world who don't enjoy playing any game. Anyone can play video games mean that you don't need any specific requirements to play video games other than your own interest and passion towards it, and that there's no real barrier to get into gaming. I think that conveys your point more accurately, and I want you to phrase it better to avoid confusion. But that's just the first issue out of the myriads of issues that I have with this statement, so let's continue.
No one group owns gaming. Instead, whether you're new to gaming or a die-hard esports fan, you're welcome to play and welcome to all the fun and skill building that comes with gaming. In this way, when everyone can play, the entire world wins.
Do you see what I mean when I say that you're conveying the wrong point? No one ever says that they own gaming. That sounds like a hyperbolic statement being taken too literally. And I was right. You are trying to say that anyone can play video games, not that gaming is for everyone.
If you imagine gamers as predominantly men and specifically teen boys, think again.
I'm gonna keep pressing this button every single time you're wrong. We don't have to imagine. Literally in my last video, we have talked about this. The fact stated that most gaming enthusiasts are men, and most of the gaming community are predominantly men. There's no getting around this issue. The moment you deny the accuracy of your demographic is the moment you deny the existence of your audiences. That's what happened to Battlefield 5. The people at EA misunderstood how half of women play video games. They think that women would automatically flock to a Battlefield game because there's a woman in the front cover and you can play as one, but half of gamers are women, right? In reality, most women who do play video games are not playing the same games that men play. But please continue perpetuating the lie so that dumb game developers and publishers can continue making dumb decisions.
We are a 2.6 billion person strong community of parents playing with our kids, adventurers exploring worlds together, teachers making math wondrous, grandmothers learning about their grandchildren to play, and soldiers connecting with their folks back home.
And let's not forget the NEETs that play their games 24 hours a day. Yes, we get it. Anyone can play video games. No one is denying this fact. The one that we do deny is the statement that gaming is for everyone. Again, the way Phil phrased the statement sounds like him justifying the gaming hobby to the people who don't play video games. Not that there is anything wrong with people who don't play video games in general. It's the specific kinds of people that don't play video games that he's trying to appeal to that I find contentious.
Most gamers today are adults. Nearly half are women.
On what measure? You are the head of Xbox. If you're telling me that your Xbox demographic is going to consist of half of women, I find that hard to believe. Again, keep perpetuating the lie that half of gamers are women so that dumb game developers and publishers who misunderstood in how those half of gamers are women think this means that they both play the same type of games. Let's make a World War II first-person shooter with a woman in the front. Definitely the real games for women.
Second, gaming must promote and protect the safety of all.
No. Just no. Gaming has no obligation to make people safe. Gaming is not a freaking bodyguard for you. It has one duty, and that is to make people to have fun.
Gaming must be a safe environment. Creating community is shared work, and protecting community is essential work. So we all carry part of the payload of community safety, game industry and gamers alike.
You are implying that gaming isn't a safe environment, which it is, but only if you make it to be one. We already have features that let you to mute people and stop them from bothering you online. There are many things that you can do to keep yourself safe on the internet, but people refuse to do this because it's just ignoring the problem and doesn't solve the issue. In other words, they're too lazy to put the seatbelt on and they're wondering why they flew through the car's window when they're speeding through the red light.
This widespread embrace of gaming and its global communities have turned video games into the world's leading cultural industry, bigger than movies or music.
I thought it's because video games are fun, and fun is a universal feeling that people can have while playing video games, and publishers deploy many greedy measures of monetizing their games.
But it also comes at a time where digital life includes a growing toxic stew of hate speech, bigotry, and misogyny.
Of course it is. Do you see what I mean when he's trying to talk to people who don't play video games and not the good kinds of people?
No different from rock and roll, books, and TV before them, video games are often dismissed or maligned as frivolous, fraught with violence, or filled exclusively with hate-mongering.
I'm confused, Mr. Spencer. Are you trying to go against the moral guardians or siding with the moral guardians? I mean, wow, the duality of this man. The people who dismiss and malign video games in current year especially are the ones that talk about how the space is full of hate speech, bigotry, and misogyny when they're the sorts of people that refuse to put the seatbelt on when they're browsing the internet.
But gaming is uniquely designed for equality. We don't just walk in someone's shoes, we stand on equal footing regardless of age, education, socioeconomics, race, religion, politics, gender, orientation, ethnicity, nationality, or ability.
Yes, no one disagrees with this. Do you see why this statement feels like an appeal to the moral guardians? It feels like a desperate justification towards them to say, gaming is cool, guys, please like us.
Research has shown an effective way to battle polarization and prejudice is through relationships with people outside our own groups, known as intergroup contact theory. This is where gaming excels, forging unexpected friendships with people we might never meet in real life.
Thank you, Captain Obvious. What I find really funny about this statement is that this is Phil Spencer trying to convince the moral guardians that gaming can connect to people by forming relationships with other people outside of their own groups. You're trying to tell people who don't form relationships outside of their own groups that they should form relationships outside of their own groups. There's something really funny and ironic about that.
When people call video games a waste of time, I point them to the well-documented health and social benefits of gaming.
So you are talking to people who don't play video games in the first place. No one who plays video games finds it to be a waste of time. If you're going to tell people who considers playing video games a waste of time that they're not a waste of time, I've had better luck telling people that I don't watch porn on the internet. Phil then cites many instances when gaming helps people around the world, and I get it, but it seems like a very desperate way to prove that gaming is really good and beneficial to the non-gamers out there. Not even I would justify playing games this far. These are the sorts of things that you tell to your parents so that you can have 10 more hours on Skyrim or something. But Mom, gaming improves my decision making and reduces stress and depression. That's why I need to keep playing video games so that I can continue you being a NEET who's afraid to go outside? This is where Phil Spencer illustrates many of his principles and actions on his own Xbox platform. The funniest one of which is the Xbox safety team being nicknamed the Defenders of Joy. Wow, that's a really good title for the video. So what are the plans? Well, Xbox will continue to be vigilant, proactive, and swift on identifying safety problems because hate and harassment have no place in gaming. The next one is to continue empowering you to safeguard your gaming experiences the way you want. How about no, Mr. Spencer? Most of us are adults. Most of us know what the mute button is, unlike some people. Spencer then talked about creating a child account or teen account, which is the easiest way for parents and guardians to manage who their kids engage with. The PlayStation actually had this feature for a while, and it caused me so much headache when I'm trying to buy something out of my cousin's PS4. And Xbox apparently had those too, which is good for you, Microsoft. They also want to promote and practice healthy habits that can be used in gaming and everyday life. And the final one is to work across the gaming industry on safety measures, such as fighting child pornography using photo DNA. Also, good for you, Microsoft. This is amazing, but I just don't see why the needs to justify this much about gaming. I find it disheartening that Xbox thinks that the best way to make their image better is to appeal to the non-gamers who don't care about their platforms in the first place. I think this statement from Phil Spencer is a really useless way to appeal to the non-gamers out there who keep smearing video games as a toxic place dominated by men. And this is Phil trying to respond to them in the nicest way possible, saying, "But that's not true though." To put it simply, it's a way for Xbox to appeal to the moral guardians who are talking about how video games are a toxic place, and we at Xbox are committed to making it safer. As in making it safer for people who don't know what the mute button is. As in the people who believe that they have the power and the moral obligations to make human beings less of a dick on the internet. As in people who don't have the grasp in how reality works. I don't think that these people that you're trying to convince really care about your gaming platform. They just want to have power over you. They just want to have more control on people's behaviors that they deem toxic, even though they're the ones who should have been wearing the seatbelt when they go through the web. You cannot convince these people, and you shouldn't convince these people. I appreciate your work for actually making gaming better, but you need to do it for the good of the consumers. And appealing to people who don't know how the mute button works and people who don't parent their children properly isn't that way. The biggest question that needs to be answered here is this. Who is this statement truly made for? Who are you going to convince with this? It's a PR talk that does nothing and says nothing really, even to the people that you're trying to convince. In fact, I'd say that this entire statement only brings a bad PR to you because you are actively ignoring facts and you're trying to justify your work to people who don't want to listen to you in the first place and ignoring those who actually do care for you and your products. The takeaway from this entire thing is this. There's no need for you to justify playing video games. They're fun and there's nothing wrong with that. There will be people who don't enjoy those hobbies and are actively trying to take that away from you for moral reasons. But these people have no power unless if you give it to them. And you just did, Xbox.